Hello, folks. Welcome to India to Germany. I am your host Paras Mehta, and today I'll be speaking with Pavan Sriram about the Erasmus Mundus program. Erasmus Mundus is a program for higher education in Europe, and Pavan is an alumnus of the program. He is also the former president of the Erasmus Mundus Alumni Association, so he's definitely the right person to tell us more about the program. Welcome, Pavan. Thanks for speaking with us.
Thank you so much, Paras, for the invitation. It's a pleasure to connect back and also be on your podcast.
It's great to have you, Pavan. Yeah, so let me start by asking you, could you tell us a little bit about the Erasmus Mundus program?
So Erasmus Mundus program is one of the flagship program by the European Commission, and the Erasmus program was started for mobility experiences between the European countries 30 years ago, so that people can be more mobile, learn a bit more about the European integration, etc. And then in 2004, they said, okay, why not we extend this and go beyond Europe? And they wanted this mobility to happen across the globe. And that's how Erasmus Mundus was coined in. Mundus actually means world in Latin, and Erasmus is the name of a scholar who was all about this mobility. And since 2004, this program has been under various education schemes of European Commission. And now moving forward from 2021, it will be under the grander scheme of Erasmus Plus program. I don't know if the name will be the same or it will be plus plus or whatever. We don't know with the names which European Commission comes up with. But mainly Erasmus Mundus program is a joint master's program giving scholarships for people from Europe and outside of Europe to study in prestigious universities in very unique fields.
All right. Okay. So basically, it's a program to offer master's courses.
Yeah, it's generally master courses, and it's done by cohort, like consortium of universities. So it's a joint degrees. That means you will be studying at least in 2 universities in 2 different countries. So that's a minimum thing. And maximum, I know some of my friends who have studied in 6 countries in 2 years. So it's a lot of mobility which happens within this. And it's very intense masters, but also it is very specialized masters. So you get to study in the best universities, but at the same time, very unique master's program, which you might have not heard of, or you might have seen very limited knowledge about. So that's something which is unique about this Erasmus Mundus. And most of your classmates will be from different nationalities. So it will be very rarely you're going to find somebody similar from the same country. So that's the beauty of this, so that your class is like a world in itself. And it used to also consist of PhDs before, but now that's become part of Marie Curie program. So that's also very exciting and interesting one. If somebody is interested in PhD, they should definitely check out the Marie Curie program of European Commission. And for masters, it's Erasmus Mundus.
All right. So basically, there are like a variety of different topics for master courses, and someone who is interested can basically pick one based on their interest. And each program is offered by a consortium of universities.
Yeah, absolutely. So to give an example, I could just take an example of my own master's program. So I'm a mechanical engineer. So my master's was in computational mechanics. So I had a choice to study in Spain, Barcelona, and then UK, Swansea, or Stuttgart, Germany, and École Nantes in France. So then I put the priority as Spain and UK because I wanted to graduate from UK. And then based on my ranking, I did get what I wanted to do for, but now I know they also integrated China and few other countries in this master's program. So not only you get to study in Europe, but you can actually go to outside of Europe. So this is how the mobility works. So there will be, so among these 4 universities which I was part of, Spain was the coordinating university. University of Barcelona was the coordinating one, and they kind of manage the whole administrative aspect of this master's program. So when you graduate, not only you get a master's degree certificate from, like not only I got master's certificate from Spain, but also I got a master's certificate from UK. So that's a very interesting thing about these masters. And within Europe, at least, it's recognized. Everybody recognizes Erasmus Mundus, and it's kind of treated with the high regards. Outside of Europe, yes, it could be a bit of tricky because people don't understand this joint masters. But I see that in the last half a decade or so, it's becoming of very much importance, and many countries are having this bilateral joint masters. Like I know in for example, in Sweden or in Norway, even in India, where they have this bilateral cooperation where you get a degree certificate from India and from Sweden or from, so this thing is becoming very interesting. And I also know that European Commission is launching or already launched a new initiative called European University Initiative, which is on a similar foundation of Erasmus Mundus concept, but not on a master's program, but on the whole university level. That means as a student from Europe or outside of Europe, say that you start in Spain for one course or one module, and then you go to and take another module in France, another module in Norway, another module in UK. Okay, UK now is part of Brexit, so I don't know. But let's hope that they're there. But you could actually get a universal degree, which is stamped by 10 different top European university. Okay. And that's really fascinating. And already they're funded around 17 plus 20. I think around 40 something European universities have been funded in different areas. So it'll be very interesting to see how this whole concept unfolds in the next half a decade.
All right. That sounds very good, actually, very attractive. So, I mean, in terms of the number of programs, just to get an idea, how many Erasmus Mundus master courses exist at the moment? Do you perhaps have an idea?
So every year, new Erasmus Mundus Masters program have been funded by a European Commission. So that means the universities come together, they make an application, and then the top ranked ones will get funded, and there have the opportunity to bring master students with full scholarship, right? So this year we have around 130 masters program, which is going to be open. So it ranges in 7 different areas, from social science, engineering, business, mathematics, natural science, whatever. So you have almost, it covers every field, and it's around 130 master course. And in each master course, the scholarship could range between 15 to 20, depending on how the consortium is and what the consortium consists of. So one should definitely check out the Erasmus Mundus catalog, which is official catalog published by European Commission, which has the most updated information. And based on that, one needs to go into the individual masters they're interested to pursue and see the application procedure and how to go about that. So most of the masters run for 4 years. That means that you might have 4 cohorts. Earlier, I've seen where the cohorts have run for 8 years, even 12 years, because they've been refunded by the European Commission because they were excellent programs. But European Commission also looks into the sustainability aspects. That means that once they've funded a particular cluster of university to host Erasmus Mundus, in half a decade or something, they want the courses to become sustainable. So that's the whole essence of it. Even though the quality is still very high, the European Commission might not provide any more support for these consortium. But that doesn't mean that there are no more Erasmus, because if it's Erasmus Mundus or not, the European universities which are part of it, most of them are really top-notch. So most of the time, you might even get scholarship from the universities itself, if that's a thing. So Erasmus Mundus should be just seen as a scholarship brand with these universities associated.
Okay. And what is the scholarship like? Like you mentioned, there is a sort of a full scholarship, and there are like each program might have around 15 to 20 of these full scholarships. What is the scholarship like?
So as I mentioned to you, there are 130 master's programs. So each master's program have around 15 to 20 scholarships provided each year. It depends how many non-Europeans and Europeans are applying for it. And it's a very handsome scholarship, I would say, because you get basically €1,000 for your mobility experience. That means not only you get your travel, your airfare, and also your mobility charges covered through the scholarship, but also you get €1,000 every month and your tuition fee completely paid by the European Commission. So basically, while doing a master's, you're not paying anything for your master's, but rather you're getting €1,000. And that's quite amazing, because then with that €1,000, depending on which part of Europe you're studying, you could really have a very decent life. So many of us may be always wondering, hey, I want to prefer maybe job over studies because studies would never pay me much. But I think having a master's is always interesting and good, and having a master's through a scholarship is even better.
I mean, okay, so this €1,000 are actually just for my living expenses, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, it's up to you. It's given to you every month in your bank. You can do what you what you want with it. But the thing is, they don't expect you to pay any tuition fee. There is no semester fee, nothing. Everything is covered by the scholarship part of it. And this is mainly, they expect that €1,000 is good enough to live in any part of Europe. So for your accommodation, for your food, and for your, to manage yourself and have a good life while you're studying. So that's why the stipend is given.
Okay. And are there any for sort of fields which are given, let's say, more importance? So in the sense, is it like that there are more Erasmus Mundus courses in, for example, science or in social sciences, or are all fields covered?
I think the good thing about Europe, what I've seen is that they really focus on STEAM subject. That means arts is an integral part of the whole learning. And now with the new policy of European higher education agenda, they're giving a lot of emphasis on social science as a part of the science itself. So Erasmus Mundus, it ranges from every field. There is no bias that, okay, they have more engineering scholarships versus more social science. No, I think you can find everything. The thing with Erasmus Mundus, it's very interdisciplinary and it's very multidisciplinary. That means it's, for example, if you want to work in robotics or automation, you need to have an understanding on psychology of how to train a robot, right? So you can't just be a technical guy without understanding on the psychological aspect. So I think the fields, the separation and the silos which we used to exist, the traditional way of education, right? Mechanical engineering, civil engineering, computer science, whatever, that's just blurring out more and more. I think you're right now just have more of profession or more of subject areas which don't really show the difference. So I think the scholarship is for every different areas.
Okay, yeah, no, that's very true. These kind of barriers between different disciplines are kind of disappearing. That's definitely true. And let's say if I am a student and I have a specific thing in mind, I want to study, let's say in a specific country, for example, I want to study in Germany, or if I want to study at a specific university, let's say at the Aachen University in Germany, can I do this via Erasmus Mundus, or is there a way to sort of include my own preferences into this?
No, unfortunately, with Erasmus Mundus, the master's program is kind of a fixed. I'm sure Aachen itself has some Erasmus Mundus going on. So you need to just make a choice. As I made a choice when I was applying, I choose to graduate in UK, and I wanted to graduate in this specific field. For me, it worked out. But in Erasmus Mundus, you don't have that specific choice of a country and a master course. To some extent, yes, but to a larger extent, no, because then it depends where you're ranked in the ranking with regards to scholarship. And if, first of all, in that particular university, if there is a master's program based on your interest, if there's a scholarship in itself or not. So I think here I would recommend people to kind of be open-minded, because I think the education, whether you study in Aachen or when you study in NTNU in Norway, it's very similar. So I think it's very small difference between quality of education between many top-notch European universities. It's all very same and very standardized, and they all provide excellent teaching and excellent research facilities.
Okay. And can someone also study in an Erasmus Mundus course without getting the scholarship?
Yeah, so before it used to be only with scholarship, but then European Commission saw that this is really very interesting, and then they said, okay, the universities can also have their own quota to allow people to study without scholarship, but by paying the tuition fee. And I know a lot of students who have done that, who have come to Europe, who are paid just like any other European masters and underwent Erasmus Mundus masters, because it still gives that prestigious tag that they have this masters done through Erasmus Mundus. So it is a possibility, but again, the competition for that also is quite high. So they only have a certain spots reserved for it. So based on which one can apply and also become part of the Erasmus Mundus scheme.
Okay, that sounds also actually, yeah, very good. And in terms of who can apply, can anyone apply, or do I have more chances of getting selected if I'm from one country or the other? Because you see that the European Union has some sort of policies in terms of, yeah, that they prefer some people who have studied some particular discipline more. So there are some shortage skills. Do they have some sort of policy here also in the?
With this Erasmus Mundus, there is no policy. You could be from any part of the world and you could apply for this Erasmus Mundus Masters. But there has been some time within this scheme. As I said, this program is running from 2004, and there were some years in which they had specific windows. That means they had 2-3 years in which they were encouraging more Indian students to apply, or somebody from Syria to apply. And now they have this window going with Japan, for example, and they have even developed a joint courses with Europe and Japan specifically. So that's the last 2 years what's happening. You need to check it out, but in general, there is no criteria, there is no limitation. So you could be from any part of the world and you can make an application to the joint masters. As far as I remember, and being part of the Erasmus Mundus Association, I've seen the statistics. At least over 190 plus countries have benefited from this scholarship. So that means it covers almost every part of the world who has been part of an Erasmus Mundus scholarship. Yeah. Okay. And I don't think there is any bias in the evaluation or something. I think once you apply, they try to kind of cover different region and different nationalities to have this diversity in the class, because it brings a lot of value addition to the course itself. But it's done purely based on merit basis and nothing else.
Okay, that's that's very good. And also in terms of the chances of selection, what do you think? So you already said that it's pretty competitive. Do you have perhaps some numbers to just give an idea of how high are someone's chances?
So I could just talk about the statistics from the last 3 years, because that's the recent ones one can relate with. So approximately around 30 to 35,000 students, or even people who are having some years of experience, apply for Erasmus Mundus Masters from all across the world, and around 1,600 to 2,000 get selected on an average. So it's around 5 to 6% in a way. So it's not a lot. But having said that, by going for this particular masters, you will ensure you have a very quality application. That means maybe you will not get Erasmus Mundus, but you will have opportunity to get into many other universities, because in Europe, there's a lot of universities where education is free. For example, German public universities do provide education free. So by going through this path of trying to apply for Erasmus Mundus, you'll ensure a very top-notch application. So even if you don't make it to Erasmus Mundus, you can get into top universities still, or you could improve your application and improve your skill sets and experiences and reapply next year. Because age is never a factor. So age doesn't limit you to apply for Erasmus Mundus, because Europe kind of encourage lifelong learning. So it doesn't really matter what's your age, as long as you convince why you are the deserving candidate to get this scholarship, you should be able to apply.
So basically, yeah, if you have already kind of prepared the documents and you have already prepared a good application, you can kind of also reuse that and apply, get a spot somewhere else also. And in terms of the application itself, what does that look like? So how do I apply, or what are the documents needed for the application?
To be honest, this was the most surprising part of Erasmus Mundus for me, because when you are getting such a good, like when I was doing my Erasmus Mundus, it was around 42,000 euro scholarship. To get such a big scholarship amount, you would expect the documentation to be huge and a lot of things to fill up, because I know a lot of friends who went to US, it was a hard deal even to get a regular university, forget about scholarship. And when I saw the documents, and I've seen even today, it is so simple. It's like 5 simple things. So you start with your CV in a good standard template, whatever. And of course, you can choose whatever template you want. Then a motivation letter or a statement of purpose, why you are the deserving candidate, what is your motivation behind this particular course, and why you should get the scholarship. And then your English language, either you do an IELTS or TOEFL. There is no GRE. I will stress it. There is no GRE. There is no GMAT for both. Maybe for one of the business course, I've heard that they ask or it's preferred, but it's not mandatory. And then all you need is your letter of recommendation. That's it. So people should not be daunted by the whole thing. It's a scholarship and it's going to be a really tough process. No. Sometimes you do have interviews. I know that they've introduced this recently. They have a short interviews to kind of check on the candidate to ensure that the quality of the candidate is good enough, because they had some situations where they look good on the CV, but not necessarily when they come and do the masters. So, but I think people just have to give it a try, and there's no harm in it. Of course, having a good grade kind of gives you that advantage, but it doesn't guarantee you a scholarship. I think with Erasmus Mundus, they're looking for a holistic personality who are good in studies, but they also have lots of other skill sets which they can bring on board. And that's a message I'm going to tell people who, if you think you have decent enough grades, but you have a lot of other complementary skills, either while you're studying or either with the additional work experiences, you should definitely give it a try. And as I said, there's nothing to lose, because when I applied, I didn't pay even a single rupee, because there was no application fee. It was all free. And I think it's still the same. And maybe you have to spend, I spent, I think, 500, 600 rupees, which is what, like 10, 12 euros. It's nothing really to send the documents in hard copy. That's it. So it's a very simple process in terms of the documentation. Of course, that also means that since it's simple, you need to make a lot of effort to convince why you are the deserving candidate. So you need to spend time on preparing this document in the best possible manner.
Okay, yeah, that's very true. Yeah, because the competition is also seems like it's very high.
Yeah, in your class, I think if there are like 1,000 students applying for it and only 10 to 15 or 15 to 20 are funded, you need to really stand out. Yeah, so that's the thing.
And the application has to be sent directly to has to be made directly with the program, so with the master's course, for example, or does it have to go to the Erasmus Mundus, the sort of central?
No, there is no central scheme. It's all decentralized. That means as I talked about, there are 130 master courses. So every master course is coordinated by a university, and every master's program has their own special kind of a website, or is integrated part of a university website. Then the application is made through that channel. Okay. So it's quite simple and direct, and generally you can always ask, if you have any questions, you can reach out to the admission office of that specific master's program. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, anyone who is interested in doing an Erasmus Mundus course should first of all check this list of Erasmus Mundus master's courses that is on the European Commission's website. Pick one they like, go to its website, check the application procedure and the criteria, and then apply there.
Yeah. The only thing I will add on to what you said, Paras, is that you can apply up to 3 different master's programs. So you can get selected in 3, and then you have to make a choice of which one you want to study. You cannot make an application for more than 3 master's courses. So there's that one condition I think they have. Yeah.
All right, that makes sense. Also, you shouldn't just send the same application to all the masters.
All the masters is administrative burden, unnecessary.
Yeah. No, I mean, this sounds actually really great. I have to say, so many advantages for you personally. Do you think it benefited you personally or professionally to do an Erasmus Mundus master's course?
Absolutely. Means, to be honest, when I applied for this, I didn't know what's in for it, in a sense, because at that point of time, for me, it was building a dream home for my parents. So I wanted to go abroad, thinking that, saving money would be the biggest motive. To be honest, I'm being very transparent. But having studied the masters, I recognized that it was never basically, okay, yes, it helped me to kind of pay back the home loans, etc. And I also, along with my stipend, I was also doing my part-time job, and I got internship in a company, and it was always really good to kind of have this extra money to pay back. So probably I made 5-6 times more every month studying masters than actually working. So that really helped to accelerate paying back the home loan. But having said that, I think the experience in itself has been just amazing, because the kind of people you meet, will become your source of inspiration and will be your friends for life. And it really, as you talked about, it really opens up the mind, and it really gives you this flair of living your life with your choice and going about the way you want. You start recognizing what's important to you and what's important to your mindset. And I think that's a very important thing, because then you will start having kind of, fair enough reasoning about things, about life, and you would not have any unconscious bias, and you will not have the stereotypes which generally exist. Because if you're ingrained in a particular culture for a long time, you're hearing the same narratives without experiencing those narratives, then you would not really grow much as a person. But if you ensure you have these narratives through your own journey, it will be very different. And I think that's the beauty of Erasmus Mundus. Having studied in so many different countries, having met so many nationalities, your narration becomes very interesting, and your barriers, the blurriness regarding the people, what you have, also becomes small and small. And I think that really adds on a lot professionally, because what it does is that it makes you a super confident person to work interculturally with any nationality without any bias. And that is very important in your professional job, because you could be in a setting with so many different nationalities, or for example, now where I work in Norway, only Norwegians. You will develop this tolerance, you'll develop this adaptability skills, you'll develop a way of integrating in a very effective manner. And these are some things which is not taught in classrooms. But in Erasmus Mundus, it happens indirectly, because you put in a classroom full of different nationalities. And of course, one thing is being part of the master's program. But if you want to also volunteer and be part of Erasmus Mundus Association, you will really gain many more leadership skills. And a lot of people you'll get inspired from, because you'll see your alumnus, what they have managed, what they've achieved, what they've been doing in their lives. So those things really inspire you to take up and adapt those things to your own life.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, such an international experience, and this, I can imagine a huge international network and these intercultural experiences. Yeah, this is really invaluable. On the other hand, I mean, there are so many advantages, it seems, of doing such a course. Do you see any disadvantages of doing it for Erasmus Mundus?
Of course, I think the disadvantages, not only for Erasmus Mundus, but if you move out of your country, you are of your comfort zone. So there are going to be challenges where it's no more where you are in your own social bubble with so many friends, family members nearby you and kind of always supporting you. So when you get out of the comfort zone, you form new friends and new kind of setting. But the thing is, when you're constantly moving from one country to another in every 6 months or 1 year, that also means that these amazing people you manage to meet will no longer be the same constant friends. So that kind of, it's a sad part, it's a challenging part, because you meet so many beautiful, wonderful people in your life, but then that bonding doesn't last forever. So you keep it virtually. That's what happens nowadays anyway, but that's a sad part. And then secondly, probably you'll start feeling a bit isolated also in this process. And then you'll start questioning your identity in terms of where do you belong? Do you belong to your home country? Do you belong to this country, or what it is? So that brings a bit of challenge, a little bit, but I think it's up to the individual what they like most. So if you, for example, if I'm in Norway and if only I have Indian friends, it doesn't really make sense. And if you're only eating always Indian food, I think you need to be kind of adaptable. And I think those are the challenges. You need to be open enough to get off the comfort zone. And there are going to be challenges to integrate and assimilate in different cultures, but only if you're prepared, you should do that. Otherwise, I think going out of India, but living in a little India in a new country, it doesn't really serve purpose. And then you will never experience the true integration also. So I think this is what I would say. And people need to be more bold enough to accept this challenge. And as you said, of course, language is a barrier, and it will be always a barrier. So quicker one invests, because I didn't take that as a important thing. And I do sometimes regret of not putting enough effort when I actually had time to put effort to learn language. So I would definitely say that anybody who's coming to Europe specifically want to live in a particular country, invest time in learning the language, because not only it helps you to enhance your professional skills, but it makes a huge difference to your social setting.
Yeah. I mean, you said also like moving from place to place. Of course, it's challenging personally for someone also. I can also imagine that from an organizational or a logistical point of view, it's something. It sounds very complicated. 4 universities coming together, organizing this, splitting the modules. This whole organizational aspect. How was it for you, or how is it in general? Does it move smoothly in Erasmus Mundus?
At least in my master course, it was very smooth. So it depends on who is the administrative and who is the coordinating university. And in our case, they were super friendly. We had all the information, and the visa processing was quite simple and straightforward. So there was no hiccups. But I know that in some of the courses, it's been a challenge. And now with COVID, it's even become even bigger challenge. But having said that, I think they've been doing since 2004. So they have learned their lessons, and they've incorporated good practices, best practices. So I think it's all functioning very well. And if because of that very reason, they're open enough to make this a European concept and create this European University initiative, right? So I think it functions well. It will have some challenges. It's not challenge free, but it's still smooth enough to have a good experience.
All right, that's
and a worthy experience, I would say. And I think the mobility is very interesting because in Spain, the teaching was so different. Like coming from India, where the teaching was so different, to Spain, it was all open book exam. Again, to UK, which was a bit similar to India. So I think it was very interesting to see how a professor or a researcher approach the teaching. And it's quite fascinating, this whole, and then the people in those countries are so unique and so different. The food, I think there's a lot of fun thing which happens when you go through this journey too. And anyway, it's super, super fast. You don't even recognize what are the challenges you're going through.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. Super interesting. This really sounds very good. But one of the main things that comes to someone's mind when they apply for a master's course is also like the job prospects after that. What do I do after the master's course? What are my options? How was it? What would you say is the case? Is it easy to, for example, stay in Europe after that, find a job, or go into research?
Yeah, the doors really opens up. It's very rarely. For me personally, I never had issues to find job or research opportunities. In general, I've seen that 95% of the people do easily manage to succeed in whatever, whether to further continue in research or in job in Europe, or to move to another country or go back to their home country and establish in a very good position. So I think anything is a possibility. But as we were talking just a few minutes ago, it is very important that you have a bit of planning in your head. Like is it for you to just have this experience and to go back to your home country, or is it for you to kind of, you want to stay in Europe, or you want to go to US or some other place? I think people need to have a bit of planning. In my case, I didn't, to be honest. I just went with the flow. It's nothing wrong, but I think if you have a bit of clarity, it helps you. It helps you to plan, because if you think Europe is where you want to live, then you'll invest time more in learning the language, right? If you want to go to US, then probably investing in a language is not necessarily the most important thing, but maybe doing something which will get you better job opportunities in US is what you need to plan. I think this is what people need to reflect, and this is something which they need to do already when they're applying for a master course. And the opportunities are abundant in Europe. I would not say that it's for all the courses, because there are certain courses which is very developmental based or language based. Then you really need to have a lot of kind of very fluency in language. But if it's related to engineering or business and etc., I think even without the language, you can easily find job. But if you want to grow up in the ladder, if you want to kind of, have progression, language I would say it is a challenge. It's a hurdle in Europe for sure. But there are opportunities. If one have to answer that question, there's abundance of opportunity in Europe in general. Yeah.
Okay, so one just needs to kind of have a plan before in advance, and then kind of prepare with according to that.
Yeah, because if you're getting a prestigious scholarship, I assume that you're very good enough to get a job. So that's
Yeah.
my fundamental principle. Like if you're good enough to get such a prestigious scholarship with only 5% success rate, you should be good enough to get any job. So, and I've seen that it does correlate. If you are confident enough to get a scholarship, it's very unlikely that you haven't succeeded in a job interview. I haven't come across any of my friends who haven't got a job, and most of them are doing really well. So
Yeah. I mean, another thing which also comes to my mind is visas are, I mean, a big issue. Yeah. So first of all, I mean, if I, for example, in some countries in Europe, for example, have a more open visa policy in comparison to the other. So, for example, if I want to, let's say, do my master's in such a way that the last country where I end up in my this mobility is Germany, so that I get this job seeker visa or some time to stay and look for a job. Can I do this? Can I
yeah,
organize
and
it in such a way?
yeah, that's what I mentioned, right? So when I applied for my master's, I had a choice to study in 4 different universities, but I chose to study in UK because I wanted to graduate in UK. They had the post-study work visa, and also since I was lazy enough to put effort in German language, I wanted to get an easy pass. Uh, but it is a possibility, so you have to make the choice. When you make an application, you have a choice how you want the semester to be. One thing, you make those choice based on your interest, because for example, if I choose to graduate from UK, it was more of fluid mechanics related subject. If I had taken a path with Germany, it would have been more of materials. So it would have completely 2 different specialization, right? So it's very important that you make this choice based on your professional interest moving forward. But if you really want to graduate in Germany, then you need to pick according to that and hope that you get ranked so that you also get in the same order of your preference. But that's a possibility in Erasmus Mundus for sure. Yes. And I think most of the European countries now have this open door policy. I know that European Commission has been working very closely with their foreign ministries on having this openness towards visa policies for Erasmus Mundus, and specifically for encouraging this post-study work visa. But having said that, these are very national policies. So Commission doesn't have much of a say in these. This is all established by the individual countries.
That's true. So, but in terms of the visas for studying in these countries individually, I mean, the students get help from the universities to do that, because I guess for every country you need to apply for a new visa and things like that.
Yeah. So your master course, wherever you're picking in. So say, for example, in my case, it was Spain. So the next mobility I had to do was in UK, while some of my friends had to do it in Germany and France. So already within the first couple of months, your coordinator starts helping you with this application process. And so for me, I had to go to Madrid from Barcelona and kind of, yeah. And similarly, my friends had to go to some other city to get it sorted. So yeah, they help. They're very handy, and the administrative person really helps both at the host university and where you are studying currently. So both of them would be very happy to help you out.
Okay. And Pavan, so you are also working on your own initiative for basically supporting students who want to study abroad. What is that all about?
The thing is, I've been helping and volunteering for last 10 years for people to kind of, be mobile. And I'm a big believer of this mobility. And I think, as you mentioned before, it really opens up your mind and appreciate the world in a different way than what we are kind of, ingrained right now in our own countries. So for me, I really want other students to have this experience because, for example, growing up in India, you have a very specific perception about different countries and of your own country. But right now, I'm more like a clean slate. I don't really have any judgment. I don't judge anyone on any basis. I just go with the flow and see like whether I connect with this person or not. It's as simple as that. So for me, I want this to happen for everybody because I feel there's a lot of stereotypes. There's a lot of racism and many other things which exist today. And only when you're mobile, you could actually kind of, get that thing out of your system. And the company which I started is based on that ideology, where I want to make people mobile and also encourage collaboration. So the idea is to develop a digital platform moving forward, which helps and encourages mobility to study in different countries and also within your own country, but also you can collaborate and work on different projects together. So that's the whole essence of it. And we'll see how far I manage to go there, but that's the idea at least.
Yeah, we really look forward to it. And we wish you all the best for this.
Thank you so much, Paras.
Thank you very much, Pavan, for sharing your experiences and advice with us. Yeah, that's all, folks. For more career tips, job opportunities, and inspirational stories, remember to check out our website at indiatogermany.com and subscribe to our podcast. See you in the next episode.